Welcome back to Tipsy Whiskey Shenanigans. I'm Steven, and tonight, whenever the heck you're watching this, I'm bringing up something that might be a little controversial. Might make a few of you happy, might make a few of you very upset. I'm talking about why bourbon is better than Scotch. Period. But before we do that, please do me that favor. Like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us out a ton, and we seriously appreciate the support. But let's get into today's video. So, today I'm talking about why bourbon is better than Scotch. And of course, this is all up to your own interpretation, your own opinions. This is just my personal opinion, and I kind of stand by it, even though I do give bourbon a lot of bad talk and a lot of crap talking nowadays because, I think the bourbon world's gone crazy. I still think bourbon is a superior spirit compared to Scotch. So let's get into why I think that's the case. So something I bring up from time to time, you all should know this already. I think bourbon is kind of the shortest flavor range of any of the subsections. There's not that much of a range that you can go in bourbon compared to Scotch. You can get a bigger range. The kinds of flavors you can get out of a whiskey and the kinds of methods you can do. And I think most of that leads to like the legal classifications of what bourbon is and what you can and cannot do to a bourbon to still call it a bourbon. It kind of doesn't leave a lot of gray areas where others, there are a lot of gray areas and allows you to kind of experiment and do crazy, wild, weird stuff. That being said, that's kind of a good thing because bourbon overall is a very consistent flavor profile. Most people know what they're going to get into when they're like, hey, can I get a bourbon? They have a general variance, and it's a lot smaller than most of the ranges of what they think they're going to get. And overall, I think that's pretty freaking solid. Yeah, you don't get to do way like experimenting and do crazy stuff. That being said, you know what you're getting into. And I think that's why so many people absolutely love bourbon, is because bourbon is a very consistent subsection of whiskey and American whiskey all together. And with them being the most consistent, I also think they consistently have the highest proof points from whiskey to whiskey. I've had quite a few high proof whiskeys from all around the world, and honestly, I think bourbon is consistently the one that you're going to see higher proof points. And I know alcohol percentage isn't everything. That being said, it's the least watered down. So my opinions is I'm kind of a proof whore. You can call me that. I'm going to accept that term, whatever you want to call it. But I do think the whiskey is usually its most purest. I mean, I don't think a lot of people can argue that, but whiskey is usually its most purest when it's at cask strength or higher proof because it's less watered down, so it's more intact of what it originally was when it came off the still and entered the barrel. Is that always good? Sometimes things do need some water, things of that nature. Yes, I get it, but that gives me the option to proof it down to my liking. I know some people love drinking stuff at lower proof points, even below that like typical like 40% ABV point. That's totally cool, up to you. I personally like the ability to water my whiskey down to my liking, wherever that may be, or not water it down if I don't. And bourbon overall, I think, has the most readily available high proof whiskeys. For sure, most readily available, and overall, I think the most high proof, because us Americans, we're not scared to crank up the proof a bit. Overall, bourbon is significantly cheaper than any other subsection of whiskey. And I know part of that is because it kind of waned in popularity for a while, and now it's kind of starting to catch up to the popularity it should be. So we're now seeing things kind of skyrocket in the realm of bourbon. That being said, you can get a quality bourbon for a lot cheaper, like a lot, like a significant amount of money less than you will for like a quality Scotch. I'm a value kind of drinker, and I just think I get more out of my money when I spend it on bourbon than when I do a Scotch. It's just plain and simple. It's bourbon is cheaper by and large for a quality product compared to Scotch. Like a quality product for bourbon. I know I've been kind of preaching on this a little bit lately. This isn't like the perfect price point for every single bottle, but around $65. You know, I think you can get some pretty amazing stuff for $65 in the bourbon realm. To get something like that level of quality, you're spending at least $100 in the realm of Scotch. Maybe 90, 100, more or less. But that being said, like that bourbon is 2/3 the cost of that Scotch. So bourbon overall, significantly cheaper, which is a huge freaking win. And on top of it being cheaper, bourbon is faster to make. What happens to a bourbon cask in 10 years is phenomenal compared to what happens in Scotch in 10 years. It's just plain and simple. Things age faster here, and I think it makes a more quality product overall. It's faster. And with it being faster, obviously there are certain better side effects of that, which is, you know, you get a faster turnaround rate. You know, you can see good whiskey, good bourbon coming out around 4 or 5 years old, where you typically won't see a Scotch under 10 years old. Typically, you sometimes will, but like a lot of the better quality or Scotch I've had usually is around 10, 12, 14 years old. I know there's some really good young stuff. I've had some really good young stuff. Please don't put it in the comments. There's good young Scotch too. I get it. But overall, bourbon is faster to age. Thus, it's easier to bring more product to the market than it is with Scotch because it's just faster to age here. Things age rapidly here. And with that being said, with them also rapidly aging, I tend to see more of an oak impact or more of an oak flavor profile on bourbon compared to Scotch. You don't really see that many Scotches that are super oaky. And again, I know, yes, there are going to be some Scotch that has like heavy oak, but I have a 33-year-old peated Scotch, not really much oak going on in there. And it's 33 years old. I have a 10-year-old bourbon that has a boatload of oak compared to that. So it's just, you get more oak impact, which I know for some people that might not really be a win or a reason that bourbon is better. But to me, I like oak. I think that's a huge win. I think overall, more oak, big win for the program. Big win for the program. But those were my reasons why bourbon is better than Scotch. That being said, I know, again, like I said in the intro of this whole video, it's up to you personally. It's based off of whatever you like. These are just my opinions. I'm not judging or shaming you with you like Scotch. I like Scotch from time to time. It's just bourbon. Bourbon is king, and it will always remain king in my heart. That is a wrap for today's video though. Please do me that favor. Like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us out a ton, and we seriously appreciate the support. Let me know down below what you guys thought about my video. Also, what you think about my reasonings of why, you know, bourbon is better. Or if you disagree, let me know down below. Also, check out the Facebook, Instagram, and the Patreon. The links for all that stuff are down there below. That's a wrap for today's video. Cheers, y'all. We'll see you later.